right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode of the GottaDo podcast. Here we are joined with the Mr. Baxter.
What's Gucci?
The
Susan Lucci.
Guy from Modesto.
The interdisciplinary artist. Thank you very fucking much.
There you go. I was hoping you'd self-describe.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, it's important to really... I don't know what's really important, actually, but no, I'm just not just the guy from Modesto. No, I'm an artist from Modesto.
Yeah, and I have seen you on MTV before.
I was, yeah. I was only, of course... you did your homework.
Yeah, I remember you told me the first time we recorded you at Modesto Sound, you said, yeah, I'm on MTV, so I looked that up.
Yeah.
I found it where it was.
Nick, that actually is really cool that you know that, because they kind of... discontinued the correspondent program, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of a tragedy.
You just hit me for a loop right now. I was like, whoa!
Because I remember in 2015, or no, not 2015, 2013, when MTV actually was going out to different high schools.
Yeah,
they
routed me. I mean, scouted me, actually.
And I remember I was looking at the paper, I was reading it, and I thought it was pretty retarded because I was a guitarist, so I had nothing to do with that. But I thought it was interesting nonetheless. Like, oh, they're out here looking.
Very cool that you actually remember that, because a lot of people in this town of Modesto think I'm just like, you're still doing that music thing. What's it all about? And I just give them three answers. Basically, it's basically about. This music is about loving yourself, finding that love, and minding your own fucking business. That's what it's about, okay?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
I definitely... Really cool, I could agree on that for sure, because, music's about expressing yourself, and if expressing yourself means you want to make peace to people, then of course, that's the message I want to tell people as well. Of course, I wouldn't mind singing about dead bodies falling from the sky. Just,
yes. Yes.
But I got to keep those metal roots around. But in the end, it's really all just about we're doing this all together. There's enough money in this music game.
And, there's enough money, and that's if I can just say that there's enough money out there for enough fans out there for us all too. You just got to go, or they got to find you, or you got to go find them.
Yeah, you got to present yourself.
That's what it is, and there's a real pool of talent in this region of the world, but I feel like not enough people hype themselves in the right kind of way. If they do, they don't realize that there's a broader horizon. I guess I don't know what I'm...
Yeah, a lot of people think that you can just run into this thing and expect glory. And the first problem you have expectations. When you have expectations, that's what fucks with you.
And that's what really kind of actually is going to ruin your entire stigma of talent. Like, there's a saying that is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I feel like...
Definitely.
People think they could just, rely on the fact that it's not really... And it's sad that I'm saying this, but it's really not what
they rely on in the moment, kind of?
Yeah, and it's really impulsive kind of stuff, but really...
Right.
I feel like there's been enough incidents where I have been blessed to work for MTV or to be nominated for, an award or some shit, But then again, too, I tell myself, it's all a simulation. It's not. I'm a part of the bigger picture. I'm a very eternal being, if you will. So I don't know.
Right on.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
What would you say? What was your biggest gig?
Biggest gig? Oh gosh, I can't. Oh fuck. You ready for a story here?
We would love a story. Yes.
Okay, so the biggest gig I ever did, I got booed off stage.
Please do tell more. That sounds interesting.
You're laughing, is it? No, I'm just joking. You're laughing, but I did the Kumba Festival.
Oh, okay.
I do festivals. I just did the Porch Fest, and I was supposed to do. I got booked for Respect on the River Music Festival this last weekend, but we'll talk about that later in the podcast, actually.
Yeah, some decisions.
How some people just kind of didn't really follow through on their word who Anyways, no,
Nepotism's a bitch.
it was okay. So it was basically me back when I thought I was having to adhere to genre, and I thought of myself as an R&B artist. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe it was societal conditioning. Maybe it was me just being able to really sing good R&B. But I now know that I'm more than just an R&B artist.
Yeah, of course.
I'm
yeah.
fucking interdimensional, like. Yeah. But no, so I go to this Kumba Festival. I got booked to do so, and the booking agent, his name was Prince, I think, and he was like, I really like you. He was a really cool guy, and lo and behold, it was like a fucking 8 Mile rap battle kind of fucking. And so here I go on stage trying to sing, ooh, and like just disastrous. Yeah.
Wow, that's hella hating, dude.
No, the crowd was hella hating. Yeah. You know what? They weren't hella hating. They were just like kind of like, no, wrong show, and I kind of just gave it like a namaste. And then I just left stage right, But yeah, that was a crowd of about 5,000 people. Yeah, so the biggest.
Wow,
yeah.
that's a.
And it really wasn't that everybody was booing. It was just like the people right in the front who were wanting to get really turnt,
Yeah, we getting turned.
But nowadays, I should have. I know I should have got my my little Uzi on, So I should have kind of hopped around stage and kind of a little crazy or something but I really feel like that would have been inauthentic. So I kind of just, like I said, namaste, and then left stage. But yeah, that was the biggest venue I've ever done. I've also done a number of different venues that weren't necessarily a Baxter show.
Oh, that's so. You weren't the headliner.
Right.
Okay.
And so I opened for somebody, or I was just kind of thrown on stage because the opener didn't show up. I went on tour last year, so I visited 26 different states.
Nice.
You know what? Again, if I can go on a little bit about that, it really was nice to see America. But can I just say,
please do tell about your
Thank
trip.
you. Gotta do it.
How many states? Like you said, 26.
I went to 26 different states, and I got to see. It was just I really, my mind. Forgive me if it was just a big circle. It was.
Okay.
So we went down the Route 66.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then went to New York City, and then up around North Dakota, and then back through Reno, and then down into California.
That's an interesting.
Back home to the heart of California, Modesto, California. But I have to say this. The landscape and the nature in this country is out of this world, breathtakingly beautiful. However, the people were worse than I thought, dude. The middle fatty part of America.
You're right.
The guts of America.
Yeah.
They're back in 1997, for God's sakes.
Oh yeah.
Arguably, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Arguably, Californians. If I say so myself.
Yes, do tell.
Yes. We're light years ahead of the rest of the country, and I say that
culturally.
I say that compassionately. Yeah. I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. I just really didn't feel any kind of real hospitality, Southern hospitality. That if you're talking about the South in particular, other than Texas, which by the way, I do fucking love Texans.
Oh, Texas.
It's like another country. They're really get your handsome ass over here and sit down and have a little dinner.
Yeah, for real.
They're very nice.
I got some extra ribs up here for you.
Exactly. Every single
time.
And they're really cool like that. And I didn't feel
especially if you're pulling into a truck stop or something like that. These people, they love the talk.
Yes.
They love the
I knew about Mary Sue's water bill and all the shit she's got going on with Thomason and, everything she's got going on. But no.
I'll still tell you all about it.
I'll tell you all about it. No, but I really loved Texas, and that was about it.
Yeah,
so,
nice,
everywhere else. No, the other states were not just mad. They were goddamn racist.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, so on
and what about me is so like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's like, what about me is so, I don't know how to say it without sounding arrogant, really racist myself, because like, what about me is threatening, I guess, you know, because like,
yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, you look like the one of the most welcoming, probably.
Thank you.
Nicest people.
I like to
I've
think
seen.
that, but again, I really do think it has to it has something to do with like this administration that's in power right now.
I think.
But I don't want to get into politics on this goddamn podcast.
I think it has a lot to do with not just this administration, and it goes back for a long time.
It goes back fucking you're right. Thank you for saying that.
Because it's not just now. I mean, but we also can't keep saying like it's bad once, it'll always be bad. Because in California, when you hear, I mean, you like we discussed, we're socially just superior compared to those states.
Okay,
not
arguably our vernacular, our dialect, our actual social interpersonal relationship that we have with, it's a California state of mind.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to New York, and you could say maybe like Brooklyn, Harlem, New York City, Manhattan, little boroughs, but the rest of New York, I went to fucking Calcium, New York, which is an army base. It's bumfuck nowhere, okay? So it's just like the other rest of the country, the gutty fats. There's a bank, a gun store, a Walmart, a porn shop, a bank, a Walmart, a pawn shop, a gun store.
Sounds like Wells.
You know what I'm saying?
Wells, Nevada.
But it's strikingly crazy because you'll run into these people who, who are very much. Now, don't get me wrong. Californians are Californians. Yeah, I think we're great. And you really haven't lived unless you lived in California. I put that in a song recently. But I think that, like, Ohioans are bizarre. I think they're very bizarre. I think people who live in Missouri are very scary.
That's a good one.
No, I'm not joking.
Did you know that people who are from Missouri, they say Missouri?
They're scary humans.
Yeah,
I swear to God, they are like living on the edge.
They're pretty, yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it's like just like
people.
if you meet them, it's just like I don't even know. It's like,
where do I go from here?
I'm Californian. I'm going back home, bro.
Yeah, there's nothing bad about that, but it's like going to Portland, and it's like that the same kind of sketch level. It's like, am I going to get mobbed right now?
Right, but another thing too is like I think of how every time I did interact with somebody that I was kind of maybe sketched out about or kind of like perturbed because they were giving me a hint of racist. This isn't my fucking first rodeo with that kind of shit. I'm actually half black, half white. So I've dealt with that shit my whole fucking life. Excuse my language, but I also was able to win them over with charm. You know what I mean?
Right.
There wasn't one person that I kind of didn't like crack a smile at and wasn't able to kind of strike up a conversation. Yeah, they might have known. Actually, a lot of the time, you know what they'll do across America? When I was on tour, a lot of the time, people would be like, "You're from California, aren't you?" And they know right off the bat.
Yeah, they do.
You're talking a little too fast right now.
Yeah, for real. And
slow it down.
I've experienced the same thing in Alberta and BC as well. People are like, California. It's like,
they know. And then another time, too, when I was, I was in Nebraska.
Oh, nice.
This lady at Deborah,
who is a zero zone of 4G.
Oh my God, it's nothing.
Every time you go into a cell phone store, every time you look at the map, there's nothing in Nebraska.
The people were really excited to meet a Californian, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know for a fact, but I think they were because they were very like a matter of fact. Like they straight up told me like, "Oh, you're Californian," and I was like, "How can you tell?" And they were like, "Well, Californians, they do this thing." And I was like, what is that thing? Because I'm like trying to also be friends with, I'm that kind of person. Baxter is like just somebody who doesn't give a shit as long as you're not a fucking pedophile.
I take you as for an individualist like I am.
Yes.
You take people for not for their innate characters.
We'll talk about that too. Yeah.
But the personality, I definitely, yes,
I am. Yes.
I definitely follow the same.
Nonetheless, I also am introspective on how different people are and sociodynamics. Like I want to know what makes people tick, even if it's not on cue, even if their ticker's off tick, what I'm trying to say. So this lady Deborah, who worked at a Denny's across from a fireworks store, I forgot. There's a fireworks store, there's gun stops, there's a barbecue shop, and so that's all across America. And wait, am I talking too loud in this podcast right now?
Good. You're
okay,
good.
No. Anyways, so this lady Deborah, she's like, so Californians do this thing where they're either introvert or extrovert. They still do this thing where they have to walk into a building and scope out every last person. And I was thinking to myself, she's goddamn right. We all do that. You know why? It's because we just want to see who's sketchy or not, And she's like, no, hun. What you do is you just go sit down, you mind your own, you eat your food,
Right.
But I liked the fact that I kind of went into these places on tour last year. It's like you just really got to feel for like how you get on stage and you play different audiences, It's not about necessarily like changing yourself as to just exchanging energy with those people, And
yeah.
It was really exciting to know that there's people out there who are fans of, like I said, there's fans out there of Baxter, and like there's fans of more than I even knew out there that actually are digging what I got going on, And so it was a cool experience to go on tour last year. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember from the early 2000s when Mac Dre was releasing albums, and he was kind of the same thing that you're describing. He was like, "Man, I have fans in Chicago, fans in New York City,
Right.
Fans in
Canada.
Berlin. Oh yeah, but fans everywhere." And it started this whole wave of just underground music becoming, even though I don't want to say mainstream, but definitely
I
out
think
there.
it is just out there.
Yeah.
And actually being able to be an artist and supplement yourself and continue to make more music. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do.
I mean,
Gotta do.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You do.
Yeah. But it was really interesting to see that kind of effect. Now that we live in a new age where we don't just distribute CDs anymore.
Okay, so if I can just touch on that subject. I mean, gosh, Gotta Do is really good podcast. It's really introspective because we are, in fact, in the best age to be an artist right now.
Oh, yeah.
The online precipice and frontier that we've got going for us as millennials really, and mind you, I'm like the latter half of the millennials, so I feel like I'm like the grandfather who talks the knowledge. But I feel like the knowledge. You better listen or die.
Knowledge.
No, this is the best goddamn time to fucking be an artist in history.
Yes.
And so, if you're really not, and I hate to say this, it is about branding yourself, because I have really close interpersonal relationships with musicians that feel otherwise. And at one time I felt otherwise too. Capitalism could fucking make you bitter. Consumerism, braggadocio, the ego can make you all turn away from wanting to actually proliferate your own self as a brand.
Yeah, and what people have a problem with when trying to get art out there in the free market, they think that just because you failed a few times means that you're never going to make it.
Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
And so
the free market
what's happening
right.
is that they're succumbing to that failure. Mind you, let's go back to the fact that I was an MTV correspondent, okay? I had written what's called a call to papers. It's a 10-page proposition on how prospectively you can write about where you're from, or where you're moving to, or where you live. For 2 fucking years, I wrote to MTV before I got fucking even any kind of email back.
Oh yeah,
you know what it was?
Aggressive. It's
you know what it was that got me an email back? If any artists are listening to this, it was a well-formatted email that had my little, social media plugins.
Yeah.
It showed where, you can find me online, blah, 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 blah. Let me jerk off my fucking own fucking brand right now and show, who I am. But at the same time, I was at my wits' end. I was just like, I wasn't a sellout because a sellout would change who they are.
Yeah.
It was just me really trying something new that I had never tried before. And so all that had to do is really be up to industry standard, God damn it. Because like,
yeah, exactly.
What that means is plug in your social media sites, form out an email, and send it to whoever is in charge of artist distribution or
music managers for
A&R,
TV shows.
you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah,
like
exactly.
Music managers for movies.
And people don't think
that's the
like
best
that.
way to get music in.
People
is
think
TV
that
shows and movies.
nobody bought my fucking EP on fucking BandLab or Bandcamp, and now I fucking. No, you need to actually write a press release or an EPK or some shit that's actually going to get you on the map or get you in Spin Magazine or some.
If you're making music, I mean,
music that you believe in.
Yeah, of course. You have some video, add some video medium.
I just shot an audio-visual project last night. Actually, goddamn it, I know exactly what you're saying because, and don't get me wrong, I don't know if this is any good. It's just that I don't even know why I do my art. I just do it, you know. It's just a part of, and maybe one day I will know why I do it. It's just a part of who I am, and I think that if the real artists really, really want it out there, they're going to continue to try new things, and they're going to really eventually succeed because that's all it is. It's never fucking quitting. And I hate to sound all cheesy and whatever, but that's all it really boils down to.
And it's entirely true because you can't blame capitalism when you're a quitter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm thanking you for saying that because
there are actual problems that we can address on that.
And there is new age capitalism that is working in ways that you partake in that you cannot even help. Society of the spectacle, Thoreau.
And everyone thinks that it's back to a system of feudalism when that's actually not at all. It's individualism.
No, it's almost 2020.
Do you know how many people like interchange business with each other from all over the world?
Okay, so
every day.
Yes.
Sending things across the ocean.
So when I first released my first single, Made You Mine, it got no recognition from, it maybe got 2 play, because you're able to find your analytics online, right? Next Big Sound is a really cool website that really helps you find exactly who you are in terms of having clout. Because there is a thing called clout score, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when I looked, there was 2 downloads from people from Modesto in Stockton that actually downloaded my first single, Made Your Mind. Now in Germany, in Saudi Arabia, in Russia, it went to number 8 on the Chillwave charts.
Nice.
You know, and so like.
Chillwave, that's the genre that you call it?
I didn't call it that.
That's what they call it.
It was what Spotify called it, or it was what Apple, you know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Mind you, this is how you brand yourself, which I have no problem with if you guys want to call it that.
Yeah,
and make some, and give me, you know, because I made $3,800 off of that, you know, off of streaming and stuff like that, which
either way,
it's still like really boggling my mind. It was really cool that there's an international market out there. So stop thinking that, you know, I need to actually. I don't know. I can't tell people what to think, but I do think that this is the best time to be. It's the best time.
Yeah,
that's exactly what we can do. It's the best time to be an artist. So be yourself and really think about being yourself in the citizenship of planet Earth, basically. You know.
Yeah. While you're alive now, and you're alive during one of the literally the best time in history, then the most civil rights we've ever had in all of history.
The most access to any kind of information.
Oh yes.
And to be honest, the best porn on Pornhub too. You know,
we live in a time of e-girls, but third wave feminism also exists. So I'm not sure where you can go from there, but
but I think it's beautiful.
It
is what I was trying to say. It's basically it's beautiful. It really is truly beautiful. And that's another thing too. Is like, I feel like that's really where a lot of things are heading. Is like where people show how full they can become, how whole they can become on their own as an independent artist. You know, like there's sometimes I like check like my Facebook DMs, and there's like this intermediate record label that kind of says, you know, hey, we're interested in signing you or blah, 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 blah. And I, don't get me wrong, I definitely check them out, but like, I don't judge them by any merit of artists that they have before. I judge them by like basically what their intention is, basically, you know? And it goes back to what you were saying a moment ago with expectations. Like, if you're expecting anything, I don't think that's really the right kind of route. I think you should just really kind of do, and that's about it.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Because there's thinking about it, there's stressing about it, and then there's doing something.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's really well said.
You know, there's bitching,
really
there's
cool.
crying, and then there's solutions.
Yeah,
there's solving problems.
And you gotta do it.
Exactly, and
Gotta
you gotta do it,
it.
whether you like it or not. Sometimes you
whether you like it or not. And you know what?
Yeah.
That's another thing too. Is like there's times where you know what? Let me just say again. Like there's times, Nick, where I feel like songwriting for me is like a sickness because I really am waking up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I have this methodology where I'm like, I have to write it down because if I don't write it down, it's not going to be remembered. And if it is
writing
remembered,
it down definitely.
You know what I mean? So I'm like,
that's for sure.
you know, thinking to myself, do you want to be up right now? No, you don't, but you gotta be up right now.
Yeah.
And so,
if you want to make that dream happen.
And so, like, to say again, if any artist is listening to this today, like, just if you want to make that dream happen, you got to do some things that are not in your bag of things, you know.
Yeah.
And,
And
if you were to go back into the zeitgeist of mankind, there was not one person, male or female, that ever was comfortable and changed history. You know what I'm trying to say? You have to really kind of get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. Because once you get into your comfort zone, at any time of your life,
you start making music that is
mistakes.
just
you start slacking. You start falling behind.
I would say that you start diluting yourself and watering yourself down.
And there's a difference between taking a break and just taking it easy all the time.
Oh, that's well said. Well said. Because don't get me wrong, I like being in my comfort place though, but I find it necessary in terms of pressing forward. My art, you have to understand, like, I am not somebody who is just saying that. I really bleed. I drink. I vomit my art. You know, I fucking. You know what I'm trying to say? I fucking.
You smoke. You roll.
I fucking shit. I fucking fuck. I fucking live my art. You know, and it's just something that I really didn't even expect as an adult, a 20-something-year-old. You know, I didn't expect this to happen. But it's always been this way too, you know. So
I think that's that's the best thing about great things in life. So you never expected it to happen.
Very nice, very well said.
I never expected my car to come up. I never expected to have some of the best friends I've ever had in my life.
Very nice.
You know, there's a lot, and it's the same thing. I'm sure there's a lot of things you can say that it's some of the greatest things you never expected to happen.
Well, I would say the same things you just said. Actually, you know, just the kind of acquisitions that you come into having, and then your friends, because if I can say, your friends really are your team, you know?
Yeah.
Nowadays, millennials, you don't need to go hire a team. You just need to really make some good friends.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have your back. And as long as you really are a good friend yourself, it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
It's worked for me.
Yeah, that's definitely.
It's still working for me, actually.
The next problem I see people have is that they have friends, but then they have business partners.
Right.
And they have a closer relationship with their business partners than their friends.
Right.
And the problem you see there...
And so, no, this happened to me recently, where I just ran into a business associate, you know.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to kind of like try to knock me down with some personal things they knew about me.
Oh, yeah, that's...
So they did their investigation. I said, listen, bitch, let me tell you something. This is not the music friendship. This is the music industry, the music business. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to distinguish yourself as someone who's an associate, you're going to be an associate. But if you're a friend, you definitely can be a music friend to me. You're not...
Yeah.
I don't abide by... I wrote this in a song recently, too. Pay no mind to the laws of mankind. I don't really adhere to what a traditional sense of structured bars is. You know, when it comes to songwriting, performance art, anything. I don't think it's bad to have conservative or traditional values, but I just don't do it myself, you know. And so this person definitely, I felt, had their mind chiropractically, you know, popped open, and they actually hit me up and apologized, you know. And a person like me, we can still work together, but I'm not going to forget
Right.
how you brought up personal shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Definitely.
Trying to mix business and fucking.
It absolutely has nothing to do with what kind of values you have, because once you step outside the boundaries, you've stepped into an area where now you're attacking a person.
And that's exactly why I compartmentalize. I'm sorry.
There's one thing to judge reasonably. I mean, there's reasonable judgments you can make. Like, if this guy obviously steals stuff,
or he's a pedophile, or he's a fucking, you know what I mean, a Trump supporter. I'm just joking.
Or a Brony bro.
You know what I mean? No.
But
you know what I'm trying to say.
When people are hardcore in their extreme ideologies or whatever, the philosophy just doesn't click right, or they're they ascend to some sort of immoral hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy.
They take on the Steve Harvey level of moral compassing.
Oh my gosh! Thank you for saying that, because I can't stand Steve Harvey.
Yeah, I just cheated on my fourth wife.
No, anyways, we're not gonna dog and give him free promotion right now and talk about, you know, because I just feel like
hashtag Steve Harvey is some more views.
Hashtag Steve Harvey. No, I just feel like it's well interest of the artist out there who considers himself independent, who considers himself original. Okay, let's put emphasis on original.
Yeah.
To really just like fully, wholeheartedly, circumambiently believe in themselves. That means like just really from all angles. Even like that means like doubting yourself, burying it in a fucking ditch, digging it up, and then fucking putting it on a plaster and being like, that is God. But at the same time, you don't believe in God. So, you know what I'm trying to say? It's like, you really need to really try, try these things with your art, and just like, that's what really, someone recently told me, her name's Matea Overstreet. She's an artist here in town. She's got that X factor, and I've known her since we were.
She's got a good voice.
Well, no, she's got an amazing voice, and Matea told me and I've never heard anything like this before. It's a compliment of compliments this year. She told me I was an authenticator of genuineness. That means, I asked her what it means, and so that means, I guess, that you allow people to be themselves, right? And that's all I really want with my music to do. And so I find that if you really are putting something out in the world, maybe you should try to just be original, as much as possible.
Yeah, because and that doesn't mean you can't go out and make covers if you want.
And that doesn't. Yes, that's true.
The cover can't just be the same exact thing that the original is.
Exactly. And you're right. And that doesn't mean you can't pull reference from your influences, even though Baxter doesn't have influences other than himself. I definitely channel reference from my past, from erstwhile and whatever I grew up on, but the influence is myself. You see, what happens is a lot of the time people, I think I used the term before we started this podcast, is yesterbaiters, okay? Yesterbaiters. Hashtag yesterbaiters, okay?
Yeah.
So basically, if you're just like relishing in what music your parents fucking brought you up on, not even the music that you listened to as a teenager that you fucking found yourself. I'm talking about, the music that is like, I don't even want to say any kind of music in particular, but like, I have a real eclectic background in music, but if you're talking about that upbringing for me, that would be like being a classically trained musician,
Yeah.
And do you think I like, I don't sing opera today, no. You know what I mean?
Opera core.
Crawling in my skin. No, but what I'm trying to say is you'll find a lot of people who just try to emulate that same exact sound that they grew up on when they should be rendering it themselves as an original piece. If you're gonna cover a damn song, make it your own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And there's two examples. I mean, there's two good examples.
Give them to me because I actually
Evil
don't.
Masquerade, the band. I'm sorry, not that band. Betraying the Martyr, that band.
Betraying the Martyr.
They made a screamcore, metalcore, just really hardcore metal version of Frozen's "Let It Go."
No way.
Yeah.
Tell me why I know that song without even having
dope.
seen that movie.
It's so fucking
I have
dope.
to check this out.
I definitely, I got the 12s in the Jeep.
Oh, Nick.
We're bumping that shit later.
Yeah.
Now it's because I played Frozen in a 5-piece brass ensemble before, and I used to hate that song.
No, you did not.
I played tuba in a group, and in high school it was something that the group decided, and I was just in there because I was the only tuba player that was willing to do anything. So I did it.
Did you play the tuba?
I did. I played tuba for 3.5 years.
I played the cello for 4 years.
Nice.
So this is what I'm trying to say is even if you have a classical background, doesn't mean you necessarily have to only be that classical background. Because I would not guess that you played the tuba. That's actually really cool.
Like in fact, I think it's really funny going back from my high school years and even probably to your high school years, where people in our generations they just know each other so well. The band Soul Rhythm. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I love them all. Yeah.
All right, so Justin Green. Mm-hmm. We went to high school together.
Oh, I did not know this.
He was a year older than I was.
Mm-hmm.
And he played the guitar.
Shout out to Soul Rhythm.
Yeah, shout out to Soul Rhythm. Shout out to
Mateo Overstreet. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, shout out to all these guys. Shout out to Dan Bryan, like, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Green was one of the kids that you would hang out, like, it's kind of like where I learned some of my anarchist school of thought from.
Nice.
And it was actually really funny because I remember we would always have economic discussions because they were and comms, I was and cap. So little fundamental differences.
Yeah.
But I've always looked up to them as really good musicians, really good people, and just people that.
Soul Rhythm is really good musicians and really good people.
Oh yeah, their music is really great. And Justin Green, like I've seen you play since you were in high school. You're a really really talented player. And I'm glad to just know the people that I know.
That's right. And you know what? That's another thing to be said. This is going out to everybody who is not just a friend of a band member, but actually is a member of a band or is a solo artist here in this region in the Central Valley. Like, there's a immense pool of talent here.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's so necessary to realize that in order for us to make a name for ourselves or to make a mark or to even like bolster each other up, we have to do what you just did, where recognize each other instead of living in each other in our bubbles, and then just fucking yesterdaying ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, for me,
especially when we take these philosophical differences to the
thank
core.
you, yes.
That's something I don't do to the point where I hate someone
and that's what happens is people start to get real bitter. And
that's over the dumbest things.
Oh my gosh, I've got at least 16 haters right now. No, who are just legit, and that's a low number for this time of year. Who right now actively are like really just over the most petty shit. Maybe like I don't even want to say because that would be feeding into them. Shout out to the haters, though.
Shout out to the haters. We love you.
Shout out to the haters. We love you. We're making our next song for you.
Haters for life.
Haters for life. Hashtag yesterdaters, too. Hashtag yesterdaters.
So, hey, Ouster, Reich, what's our time right now?
Coming up on 40 minutes.
40 minutes?
Are we taking a little break first?
Yeah, so we're going to take a little meme break. Ouster Reich will guide you through this little meme break.
Meme break.
However you want to do this is up to you, Austin, okay? And we'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes.
Nice.
Okay. All right. And we're back. So, like we said, we have Baxter. Before we get back from the break, would you like to tell us some places where we could find you?
Oh, sure. Yeah. You can find me at facebook.com/baxter.fm.
Okay.
SoundCloud/Baxter.
Baxter. Anything else after that? Just Baxter?
No, just SoundCloud/Baxter.
Really? Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, really, I'm just all over the internet, but mostly in person. See, like, I'm a person who has presence, and I know I have presence, and I like that other people know I have presence. So it's about being in real life. So if you go to a Baxter, just look out for a Baxter. Next time you see a Baxter show, I can't tell you any dates right now, but look out for the next Baxter show. You definitely want to go to a live show. It's more than anything you see online, audio-visual project or not, you know? Look out for the tour dates.
I have seen you at Porch Fest last year.
Well, I think Porch Fest last year was a disaster. No, because like my music guy, I say my audiologist, but the sound guy was having trouble. But I still did finish the show because I started with, you know, when the sound guy is not going on, you got to go a cappella. Why? Because that's all you got.
Yeah, it's show must go on.
And yeah, and one of those kind of things. But basically, also too, you have, you know, it's a good sized crowd last year, you know, and so you have everybody commanding from your soul, you know, and so I was standing there and I started singing about that actually, and that's really what I do. I'm a performance artist, so I start singing into my reality, which is whatever in my head, which is kind of hard sometimes because I write it down every day. I write every day, and I've been doing that for a very long time, but I don't know if it's necessarily good. But it helps me. It's my therapy, basically. Yeah, that's what music and art. That's what it's to me, at least. I don't know.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's really good because that's well said. I mean, music for me.
Oh, please share.
It's a lot of. It's been a lot of things. I mean, I can relate to a lot of emotional things going on through music. I can use it to get me out of stress. I can use it to help me learn.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I mean, especially when you know how to play yourself, then you can. It's like
it goes back to that originality I was just talking about.
Yeah,
a moment ago. Yeah.
It's about the part of being an artist isn't just the music you make, but it's kind of how you interpret music for yourself.
And so true.
Because
I make my music for myself as well, you know.
And it's not just what the message you're saying, but it's also how someone else could use that message to help them out.
Hopefully, you know.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with this first project I'm putting out, which recently my first full length EP I'm putting out is called The Zemening. Check it out. You know that that code you have to find out to access like everything, law of attraction, whatever you the secret, whatever you want to fucking call it. Excuse my French, but I call it the Zemening, and it's actually an 18th century word that kind of like dates back to this scientist who blah 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 blah. It's just really kind of existential for me because I've been working on this kind of music for a while with a few different really cool cats that just like are international actually. You know, maybe might be a producer for some big names actually, and they're working with Baxter. So I think it's really cool to like kind of like finally just get it out because I feel like I'm hoarding this project right now. Other people too will hit you up on DMs asking for the music, and like I said, it's about loving yourself. It's about finding that love. It's about minding your own goddamn fucking business.
You're goddamn right.
Shit. You heard? No, but, you know, that's what it's about with Baxter. That's what I'm up to lately. And trying to stay healthy, too. You know, like, hello. A lot of people out
on the gun show. Aw, shit.
No, but it's summertime, you know? Like, I consider myself... This is what I tell my friends, like... I consider myself higher than a 7 And if you don't consider yourself a higher, you're not my friend. You got to be like higher than.
Yeah, it's true that there's a healthy amount of ego that people need to carry around.
Ding ding ding.
And people think ego is all bad, but there's a sense of ego that you need to keep on yourself.
There's a healthy. Okay, that is so well said. You got to do that. You know. You got to do, and I feel like you saying that is something that's prompted me to kind of like. I'm inspired by this podcast because I feel like being able to talk about these kind of things where, you got to hype yourself up sometimes. And that's not an unhealthy thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But when you're getting to that unhealthy level of like...
the arrogance, the narcissism. When you reach levels... Because I have family members that definitely entered this narcissist level.
Oh, you see it online every day.
Oh, yes, of course. Most politicians, I would argue, are narcissistic.
No, we're not.
There's a lot of Hollywood. I said there's a lot of Hollywood.
Politicians are the worst.
Hollywood elitists that are very.
I agree.
Very.
And you know what?
There's a lot of them out there, sadly.
I've actually met a few of them. Actually, so what happened? No, they don't.
Not just the control.
They suck dick. That's what they fucking do.
Yeah.
Okay, these Hollywood elite are. Sometimes people really aren't who they say they are, and there's nothing fucking worse than you seeing somebody who's like not as high, not as poppin' as they are online. Baxter is boom 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 yada 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 yada. It's fucking like, don't be somebody who you're not, and and vice versa. If you're like online trying to talk about this, nobody gives a fuck about how intelligent you fucking think you are,
And this one thing, I can agree to that. That most cases people don't really care.
No, what they care about is if you're a kind person or not.
Very true, and it's also
that's what these kids care about nowadays. Too. These kids are so smart. They know that like somebody like Donald Trump is like a joke of humanity and is gonna go down as a humiliation, like a funny fucking
a meme.
Stroke of genius.
Yeah, and it's actually really, really hilarious because we live in an age where presidents, like the last 3 presidents, are nothing but fucking memes. Actually, 4 presidents. Last 4 presidents are all fucking memes.
Yeah, that's so true.
And anything before that is just controversial politics.
And,
now it's all just stupid fucking memes, all straw man balls and everything, and it's funny.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do memes mean to you, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I guess it depends with your intent. Same thing with music.
That's so good that you say that because
it all depends on your intent.
Yeah.
If you're being unironic, then you're pushing an agenda.
Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say?
But I'm under so many levels of irony that when I post
individualist. Yeah, but that's individualism. That's back to what you were saying. You gotta do that. Yeah.
You got because I don't look at someone and say, you know what, there's something about them I don't like just because there's something that they were born with or something that they identify with. But if I see someone who's, wearing baggy pants and they're carrying what looks like some brass knuckles in their back pocket and,
Bluetooth.
Right. And you probably want to be a little safe around that. It doesn't even matter.
Well,
what
you're going to watch your back. That's what you're going to do. No. It doesn't. I know this lady. She's a neighbor of mine. She's very nice. Her name's Pepsi.
Nice. That's
Pepsi, Miss Pepsi. Pepsi. Cola, like Pepsi Cola. I say, hey, Miss Pepsi, because she's a Texan. Mind you, shout out to Texas.
Texas.
Missourians. Shout out to Missouri. Missouri. Shout out to England. Across the pond. I don't know. Brexit. What's funny is Americans know shit about the pimple on the ass of Eastern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
It's a whole other life. A whole different way of life.
Definitely.
For me,
there's a lot of, it ranges from oppression, it ranges to different beautiful culture.
I can spread, but, German, right. I find it fascinating, actually. Vergangenheitsbewältigung, that's the word, actually. Vergangenheitsbewältigung, that's like a German word. Nein, oder nein. Ein bisschen German, shout out to Germany. You know, I don't really, like, understand, like, other than, like, the textbook kind of shit. But that's another thing, too, is there is no textbook for English language, especially here in America.
Yeah, there's the bullshit textbooks that they make, but you see, the English language is so subjective at this point.
Okay.
Shit.
Okay, check this out. My bro,
You can tell you a word and it's fine.
Let me tell you a story. No, or it could be misinterpreted. Like, my brother lived in China, actually, for 2 years. And he tells another student, you're crazy. You know, Americans, like, you're fucking, She's like, I'm not crazy.
I didn't understand.
And Chinese people have one hell of an ego, so that's an unhealthy fucking version of an ego. Okay, let's bring it back to that.
Yeah.
The Chinese are in the next 2 years going to be like a world power. So like maybe Chinese music market is down with the get down with OPP, Baxter, you know me. Shout out to all the Chinese.
I mean, China they pretty much are a world power already, but to be rising to the top, with all their music and whatnot, that they love. Did you know that in China, when they first released Star Wars, that they had to make their own version of Star Wars because people weren't really into the Western side of martial arts?
Okay, so I did know that, but like, are you a Star Wars fan or Star Trek-y?
I like Star Wars. My dad's a huge Star Trek fan.
Because I'm a Star Trek guy. Yeah, your dad's got it right.
I like the show.
Star Wars.
Okay, I don't like
George
any of the newer
Lucas is
stuff.
from our hometown.
He's from
actual
Motown.
creator. Okay, so check this out. He's an asshole dickwad.
Yes, he is.
He doesn't tip. He doesn't tip. He doesn't tip.
Really?
No.
People in Modesto
And that's
tip at
the
least
truth.
$5.
Baxter knows what's up in Modesto. So, I mean, like, honestly, it's my backbone. Basically, this is my town. It's my hometown. It's my home city. I represent this area of the world, too.
The MOD.
Well, the MODESTO.
209.
MODESTO. Modesto, bitch. Splatter in the face, bitch. Leave you leaking on the couch, bitch.
Jeez.
Don't speak. I don't know, officer. I didn't do it,
I don't know, Ossifer.
No, because that's another thing, too, is, like, what is so threatening to where you have to really find yourself as, like, I don't know, today's world, there's a lot of people like, have you ever turned on the fucking news nowadays? So much anxiety from watching the fucking news, bro.
Oh, I laugh. I laugh because
just like, wow.
But they're always like it's the end
terrible
every day, all the time. It's always the end of the world. We're dying in 12 years.
You just like, yeah.
Fear mongering and getting people to get mad at things and mob rule.
Fear mongering is the perfect terminology. Actually, I think that, and then chicanery is what's happening in our own administration. It's blatant chicanery. Okay, last year at the Christmas party, I had an office downtown. I run my own record label. It's Baxter Entertainment Productions. It's in City Hall, and you can check it out if you're a serious inquirer. You want your music to be creatively serviced, music managed through Creative Commons or any kind of license, and making online presence and revenue and leverage of that market. You can come to Baxter Entertainment Productions. Any other reason that's braggadocio, the stupid this, and boom, 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 boom. Don't waste my time, because there's a lot of people who do think that, okay, you're going by the book of an artist or what you're supposed to do. No. That's a dilettante. That's someone who basically is throwing hot air out of their orifice.
Yeah.
Maybe in a closet with a sock over a mic, but I was there at one time, but I think I'm a little bit further developed now. You know, the first time I had met you, you kind of respected the fact how I recorded. My creative process is like original. I
remember you specifically requested to have the lights off in the studio room for recording.
Yeah,
and then you even turned around
Because I'm a performance artist.
Yeah,
Recording
you
is
looked
like
away from the window, so you couldn't see Jack, but you gave really good takes. In fact, I think we only took 3 takes.
You told me that day, and I learned something. So like that's what I'm trying to say is there's a continuation of people who I don't know who have their own niche in music, but I'm really cool in my head, but I mean that's all I gotta say. You know, like basically, you know, I feel like. You really have to have that presence. What I was trying to talk about is like you got to be that cool person, not just in your head, not just online, but you got to be that cool person who breaks up a fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to stick.
No, the other day,
no.
Tell me why the other day I saw this little group of little teenagers, little shitty ass teenagers. Here I go, you know, and I'm like, hey, like filming. Just a whole circle of little kids like filming. These 2 boys like pummeling the shit out of themselves.
Yeah.
Real true story, goddammit. Like, and that's what I'm trying to say. What did I do? Of course, like, bro, I was like a cop all of a sudden. I was like, hey, you know, trying to tell people like to leave, and I was like, you know better. Trying to tell somebody like, because they were filming it and they knew it was like really. These kids didn't want to even fight in the first place. It's probably like that's how school works, you know.
Right.
So, like, you have to really try to be that person. I don't know. It's not cheesy to me. It's actually dope as fuck to be that kind of person who really makes a good change. Like, recently there was, like, just people, like, in the news. I'm not going to even say any names, but it's like, you could share, like, good stories, you know? I don't know. I started this nonprofit in town called the Modesto Community Challenge.
Okay, well, please talk about that because that's something new. I didn't
that's something I haven't told you about, but I want you to know. It's like a really hard working group of people of over 750 on meetup.com.
Really?
Yeah, you just go to meetup.com/Modesto Community. And it's really got something for itself where it's just people trying to get healthy and strong. And here in town, you might find prizes. You might help different charities like the JFK Center on West Side.
Oh, yeah. That's really good. Yeah.
Or Salvation Army.
Yeah.
You know, these are places that I actually... I grew up here in Modesto, but I also feel like getting a taste of America. I don't know. How do you feel about touring outside of the country, though?
Okay.
Real talk.
I guess
real talk, because I'm not taking it
because
from... Yeah.
It depends on what you go for, right? So, if your name is Garth Brooks and you go to...
I'd go for Garth
5 times a year.
In the front
You're going for fucking money. And that's fine. If you want
That's
to
a
be
great artist right there.
What do you have? You have artists like
I
Mocha
got
Only.
friends.
Have you heard of Mocha Only from
Who?
Mocha Only from Langford,
No.
BC? He's probably one of the most underrated Canadian rappers and hip hop artists, producers.
Okay, no, I'm listening because Nick, you always put me on like dead ass.
So I want to make sure that people can hear you because
Yeah, no, I like Garth Brooks. I like Shania Twain. Okay, there's some
all good artists. I mean, I personally am not that much into.
I don't
it,
think that is
respectable.
necessarily that. I think it's just that I'm very American. Like, I like McDonald's. I also like to make money and be having a sense of exceptionalism and watching The Simpsons. This is American culture. You have to understand.
We're not going to put any cringy audio effects of The Simpsons. We're not going to play the intro either.
Oh my gosh! Shut up, Nick. Shut the fuck up. That's okay. So no, what's funny is Nick actually knows another shitty ass podcast that really is nothing compared to GottaDo. And we're not going to talk shit, no, because he also knows who actually is shitty over at Respect on the River, who didn't fucking follow through. You know, you never would think that people would break their word, but again, it's the music industry that's like snakes snakes in the grass. But at the same time, it's a lot of fun in the clouds. You just have
you gotta watch who you know, and you gotta.
Well, I'm a Gemini, dude. I fucking gotta balance myself. Like,
exactly.
Gemini's like, wow.
You gotta treat people with mutual respect, but once they break that respect, you can't. I mean, once they
ding, ding. Hell yeah. No, fuck yeah.
Yeah, but seriously, you know what? When you're dealing with someone, there's a point where you can't deal with them anymore, and it comes down to family. I mean, it happens all the time.
Yes,
but you gotta give yourself that kind of what do you call it? Discipline.
Okay, so hashtag discipline. No. Hashtag discipline. Hashtag how to say no. Hashtag yesterbaters. Hashtag haters. Hashtag Modesto Freaks 209. Right. Holla at me.
Holla.
Okay, $50 make you holla. That's how much you want on the Patreon of GottaDo. So, yeah, check these guys out. The next line of artists you have on here is pretty stellar. Line of people actually. So that's why I kind of was the first one. We should do it. I'll be back.
Of course. I mean, you're always welcome to come back.
So yeah, check me out at SoundCloud/Baxter.
Yes, please.
Or you can just kind of go to.
In fact, go find his old Twitter account, like his old one, and follow that. And then
okay, I've got a great story next time about that actually. In Oakland, California. Yeah. That's when I was burned by the MySpace guy.
Yeah.
So I've been famous on fucking Tequila. It was my friend on fucking Facebook. Do you know who that is? Like, Tequila is a hardcore, radical Trump supporter these days who's very good. No, dude. Dead ass is like some fucking... Like, bitch, you act like you never got pounded away. With your, you know what I mean? Like, dead ass Tila. So then you got these washed up fucking stars here in this town too. Mm-hmm. You know?
Oh yeah.
And I can name names too. I think. No, I heard. Yeah, I got you. No, for real. And that's for you got to subscribe. You know, to Patreon. You got to kind of maybe $1. Make you holler.
Have you done any recent, what do you call those, like voluntary community things? Like, for example, last month I did United Streets.
Yeah, I went to, okay, so really, like, I'm so glad I could share this with everybody out there because there's something called the American Cancer Society, and I went and did the Relay for Life this last month, actually. And with, like, my mom, she's a 3-time cancer survivor, yada. There's also children out there who are, like, wearing these purple shirts, which means they're a survivor. And you just got to do it for these kids out here, you know? So what I do is I go run, you know. I still got it. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? But, go and check out, like, anything on Facebook, Baxter, and you'll see, like, a little blue check mark next to my name, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's not very, very nice that you're verified. I'm just waiting for my verification.
You know what, though? I don't know why I'm getting so much, like, harassment from people who are like, oh, you don't know how to get me no, I don't know how to get you a verification.
They don't get one. They just give it to you one day.
They're just authenticated and just, it's become like a...
You have to be big enough in the algorithm, basically.
But it's become like a social dynamic of, like... It's really not that, though. People are really not thinking of it as... They're thinking of it as a status symbol, you know? And I'm like... No, I think that there's like 4 or 5 of these ratchet-ass, bum-ass bitches who got fake profiles of me out there who are probably posting some of my fucking news, like, fucking what the fuck? No, fucking, yeah, you know, you gotta do what you... Right!
Property rights?
Fucking no! Like, seriously, Supreme, no. Courtroom. The next Supreme, okay? Nonetheless, I think that just, like, again, one more time, if I can just say, like, if you're not as popping as you are in person as you're online, you gotta do something different, because you're just a replica of, like, replica. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
That fucking eye roll. That was
no, it's just true. It's just like, yeah.
It was like the most beautiful eye roll. Like
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Fuck.
Wow.
Anyways, this podcast, you gotta check the next episode of this podcast right here. GottaDo.
And for anybody you came up late to the stream, don't worry. Post this on YouTube. Just look up GottaDo with an exclamation point Productions, because if you don't, you won't find it. So
that's to the ladies. Shout out to the ladies.
oh yeah, shout out to the ladies.
Yeah, no.
Hold on, let me just wait awkwardly. Maybe if I blink, I get 2 in 1.
No, this is a special podcast to everybody actually out there who's doing their art in original ways, like I said. Because we fam, shout me out, check me out, like I said, facebook.com/baxter.fm/ yeah, that's it. Adios. Yeet.
Well, thank you very much, Baxter, for coming on the show.
For sure.
Of course, do what you gotta do, man. Do what you gotta do.
No, for real. Like post this on like Podbean, so it could get on Apple Music and Google shit. Like everything I said in the podcast is true. You can't just let this like fall. You shouldn't monetize it, like I said in the podcast.
Oh, this stuff is going. I'm looking.
Because mind you, I'm not just aware. I'm like very fucking psychic. I fucking can read. I'm like really like manifesting things right now with you guys. So thank you for having me over.
Yes, of course, and you're welcome any time.
Well, no, like you're also welcome to my house tonight if you want to come by. Like I am gonna be recording some like stuff, but it's all about like Modesto too. I was just in a music video for fucking this other band that I'm a part of too called Salacious Wizard Cult. It really is like this music cult thing that's going on. It's crazy. So I had said something last Halloween. You remember? Are we still recording?
Yeah, I'm trying to give him.
Scheisse!
I'm letting him speak. I'm not trying to interrupt him. We're good.
Scheisse!
Yeah, we're good. Yes, we're done.
Pinche puntejo la
Thank you, everyone, for coming on.
baboso. Anyways, no.